This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, October 10th, 2005, and this is episode number 9 for Walt Disney World Today. I'm your host, Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org, and today it's just little old me doing the show. Our other panelists, Len Testa and Mike Scopa, are somewhere in Walt Disney World, enjoying their vacation, I assume. And so I thought I would take this opportunity, with me just doing the show, to talk to you about my favorite park, the Disney MGM Studios. So today we're talking secrets of the studios, and I'm going to give you tips and information on how to better enjoy your next trip to the studios. Whether it's something you may not have noticed, or perhaps a better way to see a certain attraction, I'm telling all, so you may want to make a copy of today's show notes. Let's start off at the park opening. Now, many guests always want to know how to be that family that opens up the studios. My best advice is first to arrive really early. You really need to be one of the first families to arrive so that once they admit guests past the entrance, you'll be literally one of the first people at the rope that holds guests back until the official opening, which is right at the intersection of Hollywood and Sunset Boulevards. Now, once you're there, there really is no guaranteed way to be chosen to open it up. But my advice is to talk to the cast members, ask them how they are, start up a nice little conversation. You could ask to be the family. However, since it's a pretty random selection, it really doesn't guarantee anything. And besides, you may end up having them think that you're just being nice to them as a means of kissing up to be that family. Now, once you're inside the park, there are some hidden gems that you might have missed. For instance, on New York Street, towards the end, near the entrance to the new stunt show, there is an umbrella attached to a light pole, and if you stand underneath the umbrella, something pretty funny will happen. I'm not going to wreck the surprise for you, but it's worth doing at least once. Another little secret attraction is located right at the front of the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. There's a rope that goes down to a well and a sign that's right next to it that says, "Don't pull the rope," with the "don't" part of the sentence crossed out. It's another fun little gag that you should try out. Also, at the entrance turnstiles to Muppet Vision 3D, right on the right is a little ticket window that says, "Closed, key under mat." And if you actually look underneath the mat to the entrance of Muppet Vision, you'll find the key right over there. Our own Mike Scopa mentioned last show that if you walk near the entrance to Star Tours, right about near park closing, if you pay attention to the Ewok Village, you'll hear something that's also different than you would usually hear at any other time of the day. Now, one of the best kept secrets at the studios, I think, is the pre-show at Muppet Vision 3D. Now, if you've never seen it, or perhaps you've never even seen the whole thing, it's really something worth seeing, and there's some great gags in there. It's pretty funny, especially for adults who might actually get most of the jokes. I think a lot of the jokes are aimed a little bit higher than most children would understand. I have a video recording of probably, I think, the best joke out in there, and I'll put a link to it in today's show notes for you to listen to, or actually look at and listen to, if you haven't had a chance to get down there. Now, there's plenty of folks who avoid Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster for one reason or another. You might be scared to ride, you're queasy, there's a bunch of different reasons. However, I implore you to take advantage of what's known as the chicken exit that allows you to see the whole pre-show and theming before getting on the actual ride itself. It's a great way to see the attraction because the theming, especially at Tower of Terror, is amazing and really worth seeing at least once. Now, here's how you do it. Once you get to either attraction, you enter the line just like anyone else would. You go through the queuing area, notice the great theming, all of that, see the pre-shows on either Rock and Roller Coaster or Tower of Terror, which is really also top-notch. And when you get to the point in the ride where the cast member asks you how many in your party, not the point where in Tower of Terror, before you get to the library, they'll ask you how many in your party, that's not what you're concerned with. You're concerned with the point where you get just before the ride. In the Tower of Terror, that'll be in the boiler room. In Rock and Roller Coaster, that'll be right in the parking garage area. And when you get to that point, tell them that you'd like to opt out of the ride, you'd like the chicken exit, and what they'll do is they'll point you right to an area where you can take a short little walk over to near the exit of the ride where you can meet up with the rest of your party. Now, in Tower of Terror, you will take an elevator down. However, it's a regular elevator, not one that falls 13 stories or anything like that. One of my favorite attractions at the studios is the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It attraction. Now, what's great about this is every time you see it, it's a different show, and of course you can win a cruise, which means that you can go on one vacation and win another one, which is just great. Now, of course, the most important question that I always get is, how do I get into the hot seat? Well, there's a lot you need to know, and I can't cover it all over here, but I will post a whole write-up that I have about it in the show notes. However, I will tell you the most important tip that I can give you. Now, when you're playing along in the audience, there's a foolproof method for enhancing your odds of getting into the hot seat. As they show the question on the screen, they'll reveal the answers one by one, starting with A. They'll show you the A answer, the B answer, the C answer, and finally the D answer. As they reveal the answers, keep your finger on the button that corresponds to the question. So when they ask the question, they'll show question A, and you'll have your finger over question A. Now, if you don't think it's question A, the answer is question A rather, you'll move your finger to question B. They'll show question B. If you don't think it's question B, move your finger to button C, and so on. Now, once you know the answer, let's say you know the answer is B, absolutely positive, all you have to do is keep on hitting the B until the pad in front of you lights up and it records your answer. Now, here's the real important thing. If you get through A, get through B, and get through C, and you know after question C is shown that it is not the answer, you must hit D automatically. Just move on and start slamming D. And once they show the answer for D, the pad will light up, and you'll be one of the first people to answer, and you'll get the most points possible. Now, it's the best method I can tell you, and it's going to help you a lot, and I can guarantee you that assuming you don't miss any of the questions, if you follow this method, you'll at least see yourself right on the top 10 list when a guest is eliminated, or perhaps at the end of the show. Another fun little gag found in the studios is right on the backside of Keystone Clothiers, which is a store right on Hollywood Boulevard. There's a sign for cosmetic dentistry, and they have some great names for some of the dentists over there. I won't wreck it again, but if you take a look at it, I think you'll get a good laugh out of it. Speaking of store gags on Hollywood Boulevard, besides a maroon character billboard on Keystone Clothiers, there's an office over on Hollywood and Vine of a famous detective that has had its screen damaged. Now, again, it's another little gag that you need to take a look at. It's pretty funny once you see it, and you should get the link to what movie it's referring to. Now, there's one more Muppet Vision secret that I'm going to tell you about, and it's during the actual Muppet Vision movie where Miss Piggy is singing to you and Bean Bunny blows the bubbles. Now, towards the end of the segment where Bean Bunny gives Miss Piggy the rope for the water skiing finale, if you pay attention, take some really quick eyes, as Miss Piggy's body is being pulled out into the water, if you pay attention, her head actually flies backwards, meaning it falls off her body and the rest of her body goes forward. It's pretty funny, but you really have to pay attention. If you watch it, I think maybe once or twice, and you actually look for it, you'll see that her head actually flies backwards. I was talking earlier about how to enjoy attractions like Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror without actually riding them. But for folks who are also queasy maybe on Star Tours, there is a way you can actually ride the entire attraction without getting queasy. Now, what you need to do is obviously go through the attraction. When you get to the point where the cast member asks you how many in your party, after you go through the whole queuing area, inform them that you wonder if you could take a test flight. Now, you may have to explain it. They may not be using that terminology anymore, but a test flight is really just a flight where they just show the movie without the simulator actually moving. So you can at least say that you've seen the attraction. It's great for folks who are, again, afraid of riding for one reason or another, and they may not offer it all the times, but certainly during the slower times of the day, in which Star Tours, it's almost all the time during the day since there's hardly ever a line, you can ask them for it, and I think they'll probably be able to help you out with it. Now, there are also some other interesting little tidbits that you may have missed. In the Great Movie Ride, during the Casablanca scene, there's a Lockheed that was specifically purchased just for that scene, and the rear half of the airplane that you can't see in the Great Movie Ride is actually the rear half of the airplane that you see in the Jungle Cruise at the Magic Kingdom. On the Tower of Terror, also, there's a little gag. After you pass through the lobby, but before you get into the library, if you look for a directory board in a glass case, if you go right up to the board and you look down into the case, you'll see that some white letters have fallen out, and they spell, "Evil Tower, you are doomed." So that's a nice little treat over there. Another fun little gag at Rock and Roller Coaster is one of the PA announcements in the GeForce Records lobby says something like, phone call for Jude on line 1. Hey Jude, pick up line 1. So that's kind of a funny little gag for Beatles fans out there. At the new Lights Motors Action Stunt Show that just opened up recently, I've got two good tips for you. First is the theater is quite large, so getting a seat, it really isn't that difficult. However, your best bet for a seat is actually towards the top, in the middle, I guess, if it's really important to you. But really, the higher up you are, the better view you have of the whole action. The people who get, the first couple of rows will not be able to see a whole lot of the action, whereas when you're, quite a number of rows up, actually, towards the top, you'll see a lot more of it. My other tip is, when getting a Fast Pass, the Fast Pass system that the Lights Motor Stunt Action Show uses is totally separate from the Fast Pass system that the rest of the park uses. What does that mean? Well, really, you can get a Fast Pass for the stunt show, let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can then turn around and get a Fast Pass anywhere else in the park, like let's say for Tower of Terror, at any time. because they're unlinked in the system, you can get FastPass for the Stunt Show and any other show at the same time. You can hold them. So it's really a great way to just get a FastPass ticket to ensure that you'll definitely be let into the show. You can still then get a FastPass ticket for anything else over there, and it won't hinder your FastPass strategy for the day. Now, I'll end today's show with the way I sort of started it, with tips on how to volunteer for some of the prominent attractions at the studios where volunteers are taken. At the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, you can volunteer to be one of the 5 or 6 guests that's chosen by really jumping up and down, waving your arms, screaming at the top of your lungs. You've got to have them notice you, and it's got to be done pretty quickly. If you can plan ahead and perhaps wear a bright colored shirt, that'll certainly help. Really, if a 747 can't see you, neither will they. Now, at the backlot tour for the water tank portion of the show, you'll just need to talk to a cast member, preferably right after a show gets in. You can go over, talk to them, and say, I'd like to volunteer for the water tank show, and they'll probably be able to help you. Odds are there's maybe a family or two ahead of you, but it's a pretty quick wait, and it's a lot of fun. You'll have some great memories about it, and so that's probably the easiest way, is just to ask a cast member, and the odds are they'll be able to accommodate you. Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode 9 of Walt Disney World Today. Hopefully on Friday's show we'll have the whole crew back. Be sure to visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com for all the show notes, as well as the ability to send us all your comments about this podcast. And please be sure to send us all your questions to questions@wdwtoday.com. As always, you can look for new shows on Mondays and Fridays of every week. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you next show.